Arsenal, on the verge of history. Narration script. For more than 2 decades, Arsenal fans have waited for this moment. Year after year, they have watched other clubs lift the Premier League trophy while their own dreams slowly faded into frustration. Generations of supporters have grown up without ever seeing Arsenal crowned champions of England again. But now, that long wait may finally be coming to an end. Because right now, Arsenal stand closer than ever to rewriting their history. With only 8 matches remaining in the season, Mikel Arteta's team sit firmly at the top of the table, holding a crucial 7-point lead over their biggest rival in the title race, Manchester City, a gap that, at this stage of the season, could prove decisive. But in the Premier League, nothing is ever guaranteed. Every match from this point forward feels like a final. Every mistake could change the course of the title race. The pressure is immense, the stakes are enormous, and the entire football world is watching. For the players, it's about composure. For the manager, it's about control. And for the fans, it's about belief. 8 games, 8 battles, 8 chances to finally end a drought that has lasted more than 20 years. The question now is simple. Can this Arsenal team handle the pressure and finish the job? To understand why this moment feels so big for Arsenal, you have to go back more than 2 decades. The last time Arsenal lifted the Premier League trophy was during the legendary 2003 to 2004 season, when Arsene Wenger's iconic Invincibles achieved something that still feels almost impossible in modern football. They completed the entire league campaign without losing a single match, a perfect blend of talent, confidence, and dominance that etched their names into football history. But since that historic triumph, the story has been very different. Years passed and the glory days slowly faded. Arsenal entered a long period of rebuilding, searching for the right balance between ambition and stability. Managers came and went, squads were reshaped again and again, and projects were launched with hope, only to fall short when it mattered most. The club remained competitive, but the ultimate prize always seemed just out of reach. And in recent years, the heartbreak became even more painful. Arsenal came incredibly close to the title, only to watch it slip away at the final moment. In both 2023 and 2024, they led the race for long stretches of the season, looking like genuine champions in the making. But when the pressure intensified in the final months, Manchester City surged forward with the ruthless consistency that has defined their era. Once again, Arsenal finished just short. It was a cruel reminder of how unforgiving the Premier League can be. A season's worth of brilliance can disappear in just a few difficult weeks. For the players, the staff, and the fans, those moments left deep scars. But they also created something powerful: experience, resilience, and a burning determination not to let history repeat itself. Because this time, Arsenal know exactly what it takes, and exactly what it feels like to lose it. When Mikel Arteta arrived at Arsenal in 2019, the club was a shadow of the powerhouse it once was. Arsenal were drifting in mid-table, far away from the title race, and even struggling to secure a place among Europe's elite. The identity that had once defined the club during the Arsene Wenger era had slowly disappeared, replaced by uncertainty and inconsistency. Inside the dressing room, the situation was even more complicated. There were divisions between players, cliques forming behind the scenes, and several big names underperforming despite their reputations. Discipline had weakened, standards had dropped, and the unity that defines successful teams was nowhere to be found. Outside the pitch, the atmosphere was equally tense. Fans had lost patience after years of disappointment. Confidence in the club's direction was fading, and many supporters were beginning to question whether Arsenal could ever return to the top of English football. Into this chaos stepped a young, inexperienced manager taking on his first senior job. Mikel Arteta had just left his role as Pep Guardiola's assistant at Manchester City. For many observers, the appointment felt like a huge gamble, but Arteta had a clear vision from the very beginning. He wanted to rebuild Arsenal from the ground up, and his first success came quickly. In his very first season, Arteta guided Arsenal to victory in the FA Cup. That trophy was more than just silverware. It bought him time, belief, and a sense that perhaps this new project could actually work. But the real rebuilding process was only just beginning. Despite the early FA Cup success, Arteta's project soon faced its most dangerous moment. In December 2020, Arsenal suffered a painful home defeat against Burnley, a result that felt like rock bottom. Performances were poor, results were collapsing, and the pressure around the club was growing rapidly. At that point, many managers would have lost their job. The team looked lost, confidence was at its lowest, and if a full Emirates Stadium had been present that night, the reaction from supporters might have been overwhelming. But something unusual happened. Instead of panicking, the Arsenal board made a bold decision. They chose patience. They trusted the long-term vision Arteta had presented, believing that real transformation would take time. That moment of faith would eventually become one of the most important decisions in the club's modern history. From that point forward, Arteta began reshaping the culture inside the club. Standards became stricter. Discipline became non-negotiable. Every player was expected to fully commit to the project, no matter how big their name was. And the clearest example of that new philosophy came with one of the most controversial decisions of his reign, removing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from from the team. It wasn't simply a tactical move, it was a message. No player was bigger than the culture Arteta was trying to build. That decision reset the tone of the entire squad and marked the moment when Arsenal truly began transforming from a fragile team into a serious project with championship ambitions. If there is one area that truly defines this new Arsenal team, it is their defensive strength. Throughout football history, championship teams are often built on the same foundation. Attacking football may win headlines and highlight reels, but in the long run, it is defense that wins titles. And right now, Arsenal may have the most complete defensive system in England. Under Mikel Arteta, the team has developed a structure that suffocates opponents before they can even create real danger. It's not just about individual defenders making tackles or goalkeepers producing big saves. It's about how the entire team works together to control space, close passing lanes, and limit chances. The numbers tell a remarkable story. Across the season, Arsenal have managed to keep their opponents under one expected goal in the vast majority of matches. In fact, in more than 3/4 of their games, opposing teams have struggled to generate even a single expected goal. That level of control is extremely rare in modern football, especially in a league as intense as the Premier League. And that defensive dominance is reflected clearly in their clean sheet record. Goalkeepers have played their part, with strong performances between the posts, but the real strength lies in the system itself. Time and time again, Arsenal have managed to shut teams out completely, keeping clean sheets in more than half of their league matches. But what makes this defensive machine so impressive is not just the statistics, it is the organization. Arteta has built a defensive structure where every player understands their role. The pressing starts high up the pitch, midfielders protect the back line relentlessly, and defenders remain compact and disciplined throughout the game. Opponents rarely find space, passing options disappear quickly, attacks break down before they even begin. This is not a temporary run of good form. It is a carefully constructed defensive identity, one that could ultimately be the foundation of Arsenal's long-awaited championship. Every title-winning team eventually reaches a moment when one player changes the entire attacking story. For Arsenal this season, that player might be Viktor Gyokeres, but the beginning of his journey in North London was far from perfect. When he first arrived, expectations were extremely high. Arsenal fans were desperate for a powerful number 9, a striker who could finish chances and dominate defenders. Yet in his early months, Gyokeres struggled to convince everyone. His first 14 Premier League matches produced only 4 goals, and several of those came early in the season. The real concern wasn't just the numbers, it was his involvement in games. In some matches, he barely touched the ball, rarely found dangerous positions, and looked disconnected from Arsenal's fluid attacking system. Naturally, the criticism followed. Pundits began questioning whether he truly fit Mikel Arteta's positional style of play. Some wondered if Arsenal had made a mistake, especially as other attacking players like Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz started showing signs of improvement. But football seasons can change very quickly. As 2026 began, something shifted in Gyokeres' game. Within just a few weeks, the Swedish striker exploded into form. He scored 6 Premier League goals in less than 2 months and quickly became one of the most dangerous forwards in England. More importantly, his overall game began to evolve. Instead of waiting passively inside the penalty area, he started dropping deeper to link play with midfielders. His movement became sharper, his positioning more intelligent, and his physical presence began to dominate defenders. The turning point came during the North London derby against Tottenham. Not only did he score twice, but he also delivered one of his most complete performances in an Arsenal shirt. He held the ball up, connected attacks, and constantly disrupted the defensive line. It was the moment many people realized something important. Gyokeres didn't fail to fit Arsenal's system. He simply needed time to adapt, and now that adaptation may have arrived at the perfect moment of the season. What makes this Arsenal team even more dangerous is that their attack is no longer dependent on just one player. In previous seasons, the team sometimes relied too heavily on a single source of goals. But now, Arteta has built an attacking unit filled with variety, movement, and multiple threats.